Let's get started.
Go time.
Remember, we cannot say any cusses before.
Oh, yeah. I can't be... Oh, man, get you some rest, brother.
All right. We are live, but what do I know? I know, bro. I know that feeling. I've been saying that for a long time, E. Welcome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of CMCT, Change Your Mind, Change Your Thinking. My name is Troy Skinner. I am your host. And next to me is my co-host, my right hand of power, the man, one of the only few men that I actually would be on a battlefield with.
Appreciate that.
This man here.
Got to be a ham a little bit. Antonio Dean.
Antonio Dean. No doubt, guys. No doubt. So, welcome back. Tuesday was a great show for all of those who were involved and tuned in. We are speaking about Black History Month, being that it's only 1 month out the year, Black History. And we ran into some things that were very revealing.
Absolutely.
That's the word, revealing. And we want to talk more about that tonight and finish off and cap off this topic. If you haven't already joined us on YouTube, make sure you go and subscribe, like, share our information and what we got going on. If it's been something that's been a benefit to you, make sure it's of benefit to others. Because that is what we're looking to achieve. We want to spread the word. We want to educate and entertain. Again, we want to educate and entertain and educate at the same time.
Correct.
So, with that being said,
What the hell?
what's going on? What you got going on? Oh, I saw that. Yeah, look at that.
It just gimbal just moving on its own.
He's like, yeah, I'm going to do this. We are always looking for any form of support, and we would love for any of you guys out there to support us, to support the channel, support our venture in regards to what CMCT is all about. And if you're able to donate, we are greatly appreciative of that.
Absolutely.
Your donations help us to keep the lights on, to keep the rent paid, to do a lot of things that we do here at the complex.
Yeah, we need strippers on Fridays. We can't even do that when y'all don't donate.
Yeah, nothing to throw dollar bills at because we ain't got no dollar bills.
Exactly. And that's why we need your help. It's drastic.
It's drastic. No, we greatly appreciate you guys just tuning in, and but if you can, definitely any support and anything that you can do would help. So, with that being said, if you're just giving is a hard thing at the moment, well, here's a motivation for you. We are giving away a safe. All right.
But not just any safe.
But not just any safe. I like how you did that. But not just any safe. But not just any safe. We are giving away a safe, and it is a Stillwater safe, and it is the EL310. It's a 2-hour fire-resistant home and document safe. 2-hour fire resistance means that the internal temperature will reach up to 350 degrees if the safe is in a fire for 2 hours at 1,875 degrees max external temperature. Yes, has easy programming, 4 AA batteries external, and will retain your code if the batteries die or are changed out. And so, if that's something that you're very interested in, which you should be, right? Because everybody needs to have a safe in order to put
Everybody
all
needs something,
their essentials.
somewhere to hide your shit.
Your private.
Is it past? Okay, I was like...
Your private items. You definitely would want to, have that. It's just, is it powered up?
Yeah,
is that, yeah? Or is it just,
No, it's like auto moving and shit.
Yeah, I see that. It's giving you a hard time, man.
Very hard time.
Yeah. If you go to our Linktree page,
that's why.
You will be able to purchase yourself some. Oh, you figured it out?
Yeah, it was bumping into that.
Ah, got you. He's like, get out of my way. Get out of my way. You will be able to purchase yourself some of these tickets. All right? Because we are raffling the safe off. Okay, we're not just giving it away, we're raffling the safe off. And if you're on YouTube, you can see our Linktree page. If you go to our Linktree page, our Linktree, very simple to remember, CMCT _show. And if you go there, basically what happens is there's places for you to tip us and also to buy or purchase raffle tickets. And those raffle tickets, you go there, you see.
It won't cost you an arm and a leg.
No, not at all. It's nice donations, man. You know, ticket options, and the ticket options are for 1 ticket, it's $5. For 3 tickets, it's $10. For 7 tickets, it's $20. For 20 tickets, it's $50. And for 50 tickets, it's $100. So there are still tickets left for those who are interested in being in the running for the safe. If you don't want to have to be in the running for the safe, you can still just tip us and help us out in regards to what we're looking to do here at the complex.
Thanks in advance.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, thank you
all the support.
for all the support. Hopefully you all had a great day today. Hopefully you're having a great week. Seems like this week started out slow and then all of a sudden it just left.
Yeah, this was it was real slow, sped the hell up, and then now we got a storm brewing.
Oh, is there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God!
You didn't hear that earlier?
No,
Oh yeah, it's coming.
So, well,
It's coming. They about to get us.
Yeah, again, right? Mm-hmm. So, okay, guys. So, don't forget to tune in next Tuesday as well. We're doing some pre advertising. You know, we're gonna have some OnlyFans people being interviewed on the show. So if you don't like OnlyFans, if you have a serious issue against people who do OnlyFans, please be here so you can state your opinion, whether through message and or coming in on the show and speaking against OnlyFans. If you believe in OnlyFans people and you like OnlyFans people, come in and give your opinion on that. Antonio and I are not going to tell you where we stand with it, but you'll know on the show if you tune in.
Yeah.
It should be a really, really good show. We're going to be talking pretty much about the sex trade.
Absolutely.
But we're using OnlyFans as a means to have that conversation started off.
We're going to do something about these renegades, man. Something about these renegades.
So it should be a really good show. Hopefully you'll join in with us. And it will be a two-parter. We've been running into two-parters because there's always a lot of information. Like with tonight,
It's a follow-up.
It's a follow-up for sure in regards to Black History Month. If you were here on Tuesday, you know that there is in Black History Month themes. Every year since 1925, was it?
1928.
28. You're better at
Allegedly.
numbers than I am. Since 1928, there have been a theme for every year of Black History Month. I didn't know that. Hey, Alex, how you doing?
They said that it's designated, the theme is designated by the president and endorsed by the president. But we also read
That
the what is it?
ASNLH, the association.
now.
Yes, it's ALH.
Yeah, that's the original name.
Right.
So now it's ASALH, the,
Association Study Negro Life and History.
Sure.
So now, back in 26, it started out as Negro History Week.
Yep.
And then they moved it up in 1976. Gerald Ford officiated Black History Month. And in February 1986, it became a federal holiday.
Correct.
Right? Okay.
Or federally recognized.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. Federally recognized. DJ
Which
Brick
apparently
they
officiate, or they redecide
every
year, apparently.
If it should be something
if
that's
they're going to continue it, yeah.
Wow, huh?
Which is insane.
All right, so when we left off, that's just a catch up, guys, because that became a very big part of the show. You know, we had a lot of other things we wanted to talk about. And when we left off, it became a thing of, here you go, brother.
Sir.
find it. It's over there. Yeah.
Yeah, we left off on Harriet Tubman.
Yes, we left off on. I'm about to go in. So, Antonio had alluded to you guys that Harriet Tubman, the essence of who Harriet Tubman is, like the person, is false. She doesn't
Correct.
exist. She never existed. She was a built entity. All right? So I'm going to let him give the dissertation about that because, in my opinion, he knows more about it. Like, I read years back and found that information myself. Mm-hmm. So when the movie Harriet came out, you know, it was multi-layered for me because, first off, I already knew that that entity didn't exist, but then the movie was trash in itself. And I was one of those people who was very big about, you know, actually, I'm not usually big on boycotting films. I'm always like, you know, watch whatever you want to watch, do what you want to do. But when that movie Harriet came out, and I knew the details about it, I was very big on the boycott of that film. And a lot of people were angry with me because they were like, well, we need this history and, you know, the kids need to learn from it or whatever. No, yeah, I boycotted the hell out of that film. But I didn't watch it in the theaters. I ended up watching it after it came to home video and it was available. But people were like, how would you know unless you watch it? I don't need to watch something to know it's trash.
I agree with that.
You know? Okay. But I'm going to turn it over to Antonio so he can get into the dissertation about Harriet Tubman, the entity that does not exist. Here we go.
It does exist. It's a legal entity.
Somebody owns it, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know who the current, you know, what do they call it, power of attorney is over the entity.
Of the estate.
You know, someone. So, I'm going to just read directly. I'll give you the background once again really quick. Dan Calloway, you know, shout out to him. I'm just here to make you think is one of his YouTube pages, and then his main YouTube page is just Dan Calloway. Go and watch his videos. He has, I think, 3 different ones that are up that focus on the actual history of Harriet Tubman. And the man went and, you know, he paid the money because when you go to the Library of Congress, it costs money to go and do, you know, different types of research. And he put his own money behind going and figuring out who this person truly was, what was her origin, and how she came to be. He also did the same thing for Nat Turner, but we're going to focus on Harriet Tubman. So, I took some still shots from his YouTube video that explains in depth pretty much everything that went on. So I'll start by reading those. If you're on YouTube, obviously you can see this. If you're not on YouTube, well, you know what I'm saying?
Listen closely.
You sleep. You need to get on YouTube. All right? So, the following little story was written by Mrs. Sarah H. Bradford of Geneva, New York, with the single object of furnishing some help to the subject of the memoir, Harriet Tubman's services and sufferings during the rebellion, which are acknowledged in the letters of General Saxton and others. It was thought by many would justify the bestowment of a pension by the government, but the difficulties in the way of procuring such relief suggested other methods. And finally, the present one. The narrative was prepared on the eve of the author's departure from Europe, where she still remains, which is Sarah H. Bradford. It makes no claim whatever to literary merit. Her hope was merely that the considerably numerous public already in part acquainted with Harriet's story would furnish purchasers enough to secure a little fund for the relief of this remarkable woman. Outside that circle, she did not suppose the memoir was likely to meet with much of any sale, or much, if any, sale.
Okay. So elaborate a little.
Yeah, I'm gonna break that down a little bit because you know it's kind of not old English, but you know there are a lot of legal terms in there. It's written very specifically. Essentially, Sarah H. Bradford, some white chick from New York, or excuse me, not from New York, from Europe, but she was trying to get away from Europe. And how she ended up in Geneva, New York, was that she wrote this book. and it was purely fictional. And the U.S. government essentially, or it was either the U.S. government picked it up because of how wild, the exploits of Harriet Tubman, a figure like her, could be to save these slaves and get them to freedom and all of this crazy shit. And she thought that it was just going to be something that would maybe make her enough money to get to the United States. However, it got much bigger, as we all know, because this is something that ends up in our general school curriculum. I don't know how it is now because I ain't in school no more. But at some point in the 60s, this was being taught to children.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So next, we got the next photo. Let me read that. If I turn that one off. Yep, I do it right. Cool. So, in furtherance of the same benevolent scheme, and in order to secure the whole avails of the work for Harriet's benefit, a subscription has been raised more than sufficient to defray the entire cost of publication. Essentially meaning a new entity came in and picked up all of the publishing and distribution costs of this fictional story. Mm-hmm. All right. This has been affected by the generous exertions of William G. Wise, Esquire, of this city, which was Geneva, New York. The whole amount was contributed by citizens, right? And citizens, there's a whole legal definition and breakdown behind what a citizen is. Mm-hmm. You guys can look up Black's Law Dictionary volumes number 1 and 2 are available on the internet. And the oldest version of any law that was ever written can still be used in court today, mm-hmm. and the oldest definition of any word mm-hmm. can still be admissible in court today. Mm-hmm. So again, you want to go and look up what a citizen is in Black's Law Dictionary. Right. Volumes 1 and Volume 2. Right. Those are the best volumes you can have. Some people swear by Volume 5, but the oldest version is the best version because then it don't matter what they change. That's right. And, mm-hmm. and it's free. Archives.org. Anyway. William G. Wise, Esquire, basically funded this entire thing for her to be able to get to New York and all of that, right? So, nextly, wait, is this out of order? Oh, the whole amount was contributed by citizens of Auburn, with the exception of 2 liberal subscriptions by Garrett Smith, Esquire, and Mr. Wendell Phillips.
That means a lot of money. Liberal.
Yep.
Liberal means a lot.
Yep. That means that they really was like, you know what?
We need this.
We gotta put money behind this. Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Wise has also consented, at Mrs. Bradford's request, to act as trustee for Harriet and will receive, invest, and apply for her benefit whatever may accrue from the sale of this book. Mm-hmm. So, Mr. Wise, the original investor, essentially, he decided, or in their negotiations, they have the right to contract. Mm-hmm. So in their negotiations, Miss Bradford requested that Mr. Wise would be the trustee for the entity Harriet, as they're bringing this person to life. If you don't know what a person is, you don't know what an entity is legally. Time to go look that up. Black's Law Dictionary. All right, and if we have time tonight, I'll get it on here just to reinforce it. But essentially, they were bringing this storybook character to life legally. And if she was to be alive legally and pushed and to the world and told that these were her exploits and this is who she was and what she did, there has to be a legal entity to back up these claims, right? So they paid to have it created. I'll read that sentence again and continue on. Mr. Wise has also consented, at Mrs. Bradford's request, to act as trustee for Harriet and will receive, invest, and apply for her benefit whatever may accrue from the sale of this book. Now, if you don't know anything, or if you don't know the full history of Harriet Tubman, she was a military general. And,
Started out as a slave.
yeah, started off as a slave, ended up as a medic in the army, and then at some point allegedly was a general, and all of these different things.
Yeah,
so
spy.
Yeah, spy. Yeah, she was a Confederate spy, and all kind of shit.
She was busy.
So,
hey, Claudia. She was busy.
So
she was a multitasker, bro.
Yeah, exactly. So once she gets out of the military, obviously there are benefits to be paid to her. So they created essentially an estate. And the trustee, Mr. Wise, just handled all of those affairs, the affairs concerning that entity. Why? Because she's gone. She doesn't actually fucking exist. Plain and simple. So, the spirited woodcut likeness of Harriet in her costume as Scout was furnished by the kindness of Mr. J.C. Darby of this city. Furnished.
No kindness. He had to make that money.
Plain and simple. Furnished. He created it. He okayed it. It was, all of this was okayed. So this is an act of Congress. All of these different names that you're hearing, and you can go and verify this. This was Congress that put this into action, okay? And I'm pretty sure that, because the UK is, we're basically always indebted to them.
Hey, Terrius.
More than likely, this is they also had a part in this because they also celebrate Black History Month.
Which is odd in itself.
How convenient is that?
Yeah.
Anyway, next photo. Oh, wait, maybe that was the last one. So now, this is the last photo. If you're on YouTube, you'll see they have here a picture of the widow's pension, right? Harriet Tubman had married, the fuck was his name? Nelson Davis, essentially, and he had passed or something like that. So the signatures that are on this widow's pension are actually the Esquire dude, one of William G. Wise, right? He signed this for her, and he received, as her trustee, he received, managed, and did whatever it was that he wanted to do with all of those funds. Why all of this is important? And maybe I will take the time to go and look up the legal definitions of these words just to really kind of reinforce this to you guys. But Harriet Tubman was never a real person.
Bottom line.
She was a legal entity.
And one of the things about a legal entity is you can put anything into place to present as that legal entity. So he's a legal entity, right? So today it's him. Next Tuesday, somebody else, if that entity is owned.
Oliver Chapman and the Dosage are not the same person.
Right.
Damn, I never say my name on there. But anyway, Antonio Dean and the Dosage are not the same person legally.
Okay, so guys, to give you an idea, it's kind of like someone having Prince fought Warner Brothers for his name because they owned his name.
Yep.
And so they didn't go as dirty as putting a new Prince up. You know what I mean? But
shit like that has happened.
Right, it happens all the time. Whereas, right now, PM Dawn, the cousin of the guys who created PM Dawn, is out there performing as PM Dawn.
Simple as that. So I'm not gonna give you guys a legal lesson here tonight. Maybe we make that another show. All right. But I just wanted to share that with you all.
Okay, so why is it important that they know that she didn't exist? Why not just let the lie live?
Because they're manufacturing our history.
Okay.
And that's a problem.
Yeah.
The issue with that is something that we're not often told, and we kind of touched on this last show. A lot of us, we're not really African. Our land was already here. And even further back, things that have been newly discovered, newly found. The capital of Egypt was in South America. The capital of Egypt all the way over in Africa. The capital was here in South America. Why is that important?
Well, it goes into the point of a lot of times when you see that Europe and England, they're considered the best sailors. They're considered the best travelers.
The best navigators of the globe.
Which isn't true.
Not true at all.
And you can go back and look at just understanding that when you look at the Arab cultures, a lot of those people were traveling, and most of them were Nubians and Africans. Whatever African is, because see, you got to understand that
that's
Africa,
not the actual word.
That's not okay.
Africans don't necessarily call themselves African until they get introduced to
the need to deal and be identified.
French white folks. And
they have to be identified. Which is very big status over there. When you go overseas, guys, people, it doesn't matter, from different cultures, will literally, they'll look at you, right? It's kind of like here in the States, people in conversation like, hey, where you from, right? But that's not how they identify with you first. Overseas, and I know this personally, they will come up to you, they'll look at you and they'll go, African? And you go, no. And then they'll go, Spanish? Like they have to have that understanding of that identity of you. And then they'll ask you what languages you speak. Yeah. It's very wild. I was fortunate because I knew Spanish. So in Romania, if you're not African, because there's a very, I hate having to use that word, but that's the only way we can describe it. If you're not African as a black person, because that's a word, that in itself is a word, but as a melanated person, if you're not black, if you're a black person, if you're a melanated person, they have to be able to identify with you because they have a perception of how they see you. Whereas here, we're all black. Yeah. Even if you're African, until you speak and they hear an accent, you're black. It don't matter. Yeah. Overseas, they have to have a perception of who you are before they even deal with you. And that's what I had learned. Yeah. And that's the importance of going overseas. It's not, the traveling and to be able to say, I traveled, I was overseas. No. To me, going overseas as a black American, as a melanated American, it gives you the perspective of what your contribution has been to this country. Because what Antonio is saying is that if we were already here, then whose country really is it?
Who was it? And to reestablish the question, which was, why is this important?
Right.
It's important because we have so many different people, so many different cultures, so many different systems dictating to us who we are, what we are, where we came from, what our history is. There are college-educated professionals, white, Latin, German, so forth, whatever.
Indian.
Arguing with one another, arguing with us about who we are, what we are, and where we came from. So that is just going to take me back to the point that I wanted to make the last show, which was, it's okay to ask the question. Did this really happen the way that they told me it happened? I'm not saying whether or not any of it is true, other than Harriet Tubman's, that's she doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah, well, go ahead, I'm sorry.
It's okay to ask the question. They gave me the books that I'm reading. They gave me the language that I'm speaking.
The narrative.
The narrative of what my origins are. How true is that? Where do we get to go to fact check our history? Our background, other than there are a few scholars out there who've done the work and gone and paid the money to see
for themselves.
And were
to expose.
Generous enough to share it with us. Which kind of leads into this next thing, right? Because I'm just saying it's okay to ask the question. Number one, because one of the arguments is that, they didn't really keep good records of all the slaves and what they were doing and all of this shit. However, in America, anything that was considered property, there's a what the fuck do they call it? The not the till.
A ledger.
Ledger. There you go. They had ledgers of all their properties, of all their assets.
Well, because when you're dealing in business, you got to show where your money's going, where it's coming from, what you spent your money on, and there's people who still own postcards of lynchings in their closet. You know, racism has not gone away. It just
Absolutely.
You know, hip hop came and kind of pissed on it a little bit, and they wiped the piss off now, and white girls are still doing blackface parties. I just saw that recently.
But this is how I'm gonna bring that or complete that. Is this? If they have no documentation of slavery, we don't know where the slave ships are, other than one, Clotilda, which was proven to be a farce. They found that, I believe, in South Carolina. You have to fact check me on that, but the name of the last slave ship was Clotilda. Those three things. However, we have things like Ancestry, 23andMe, and then whatever the other names of all those fucking DNA. Y'all know all of the DNA, going and get the test and all that shit.
It became chic, right? Man. You know, those things are chic.
Well, this is the reality of that. If they don't know or have any documentation of who came from where or what, how is it that right now today you go and take that blood test and you pay the money, they're going to tell you where you're from and who your people are? You're paying for that and signing up for it?
Well, hell, I mean...
But somehow they can't even reproduce, or excuse me, they can't produce or reproduce any documentation of slavery. But we got everything else as far back as early 1700s, late 1600s. Well, but they have none of that documentation.
And playing devil's advocate for what that means for the public, we're talking about the same people who fucking made a pet rock, the most popular toy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, Antonio and I was talking before the show, and one of the things I always say and this is for all you guys out there who are intellects, you know, because you have a lot of different names that people throw on people who are woke, or people who are what's the there's another word that what do you call it? God, where you at, Lady Muse? Because you know
I'm young, but I'm old, man. I don't fucking know.
No, they have there's a word for black people who are a little bit more astute nowadays. They have a word.
There's a word for that?
Yeah, they have a word for it. But anyway, whatever those words are, for anyone out there who is interested in what we're saying, okay, because he just gave his dissertation to help you guys understand the whole. Like I said,
just to understand that it's okay to ask the question.
Yeah, it's very important, because even with the slave ships, you know, a lot of times people go, yeah, well, you know, the ships got destroyed. Okay, that's fine. You know, if you say that, you know, that's fine. The ships got destroyed, but how many ships? Because apparently there were millions shipped here. Yep. Right? So that was something that when you had mentioned it, I was like, you know, that's interesting. I went and looked it up.
That would imply at least thousands of ships, and they're all gone.
Well, I mean, you know, hey, man.
All of them are gone?
They all went back and never came back.
No schematics, no blueprints of... Because obviously we're talking about the transatlantic slave trade. This is a huge thing. There's no documentation of their plans. Of how they put this entire thing together. We're talking about a voyage across the Atlantic, there and back,
consistently,
on a very regular basis.
Now, let me be clear about it. I do believe that it happened, but not on the extent that they're saying.
Not the way that they said it happened.
Yeah, that's the only difference.
Like, I'm not saying it didn't happen.
He's not saying that. I want to, you know, I couldn't speak for him, but I'm speaking for myself. I know that slavery existed. I know that it's real. I know that it was something that is part of this dark American's history.
Absolutely.
But what he's saying is it's leaning more, which is kind of what Dane Calloway talks about. He's leaning more towards, and it's funny because there's another brother that I listen to, Chronicles. He talks all the time, and he mentions Dane sometimes. And he says, I agree with Dane to certain extents, but he's like, you cannot say that the slave trade didn't happen because it affected the whole world. And anything that affects the whole world is a reality in itself.
There's some truth to
right.
it.
So he, the thing is when you research, guys, when you're researching what you're researching to prove otherwise and also prove your point. So it can't lean more to one or the other. It can't be, okay, this is what I believe. I'm going to do everything in my power to prove otherwise. Or this is what I believe. I'm going to do everything in my power to prove my point. You have to be balanced on that. So with that being said, when you're doing your research, you have to be fair in your research. You can't say, okay, slavery never existed, and then say, this is why I believe it didn't exist, okay? Without saying, but is there something that shows that it did exist? Right. So that's the balance in fairness. And that would, to me, be the way to approach it. Because what Antonio's giving you, he's showing you, okay, look, Harriet Tubman didn't exist, and this is why.
Because now, they documented it.
Well, yeah, but
it's
see,
documented in Congress. You can go and pay to get the paperwork.
The problem is that if you don't understand that, then you're just accepting the narrative as it's given to you,
which is fine too. Unfortunately, it is okay because it's a choice.
Well, there's a reason why that narrative. Okay, you have to always understand that there's a reason why a narrative is pushed.
Correct.
That's the highest level of programming. Programming, and just like he said, they're changing the history. Not only did they give you a false narrative of the history, now they're moving the goalpost on the history
to make sure that none of our new children are really they're not learning. It's not even half as potent as it was originally told to us.
Because what learning slavery did was made us angry. That's what it did. Roots, you mentioned that last week. Roots, when it came on, it made a lot of even Eddie Murphy joked about it in Delirious. Yep. It made a lot of people angry. And okay, so when you make a culture angry, what do you do in order for them to subside that anger and to move beyond it? So in essence, us giving you guys the understanding of that every year there's because somebody, it was funny, I was talking about what we talked about and they go, well, what's this year's topic of Black history? What's this year's theme? And I said, Black resistance. And they're like, what the fuck does that mean?
What the fuck does it mean? We'll know soon, I'm sure.
Because it's part of the programming. It's part of how they move and shift us. Now, let's get to the root of it. Why? Why move and shift? I'm going to stop saying Black people. Melanated people.
Well, because when you control the narrative, you control a person's history, you control a person's livelihood. That's absolute power. Mm-hmm. You can do anything that you want to these people. Mm-hmm. We drive and fuel nearly every economy around the world, all the way down to something as simple as fashion. Balenciaga and all of that kind of shit, them niggas wouldn't be able to sell at the prices that they sell if Black people weren't putting the shit on, or, if we weren't putting it on in our music videos and talking about it on Facebook and making it this thing. You have to understand their need to control us has everything to do with how it is that we drive the world unknowingly. Because they give us nothing, and all we're doing is basically trying to survive. But how is it that if all we're doing is trying to survive or surviving, everyone in the world is copying us? Everyone in the world wants to look like, they want to look like you. They want to emulate you. the way that you dance, the way that you talk, the words that you use, even the way that we eat.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world is watching that. That's their reason.
Mm-hmm.
That is their only reason.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be able to control something that valuable, something that potent, something that powerful.
So, guys, understand this. That you, yeah, no doubt, Taurus. Yeah, he said, preach. Understand this. He said, why are we as a people still playing their game? Yeah, listen, because they control the narrative.
We don't know who
Taurus.
we are.
And if you don't know who you are, then people will tell you who they think you are. And you accept that because you
That's
don't
your
have...
only point of reference.
Yes, you don't have another point of reference. So, I lost my train of thought because I wanted... Okay. So, how does one claim their power? Because, okay, say for instance, you know, you and I, we talk all the time.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't read books, right?
No,
we
they
know
don't.
that. They don't, and that's okay. Listen,
Yeah, it's fun, whatever.
a lot of people, I know people who listen to books. Now, you know, because I'm in the industry, you know, I get scripts and stuff. I don't have time, you know, in all the books that we get, you know, I barely have time. So how is it that a person can find a way to educate themselves if they're not Google friendly, if they don't go to YouTube, because YouTube is your friend too,
Yes,
right?
it is.
How does a person educate themselves to empower themselves? Because I think, you know, that's how it starts. Little sparks of light. You know what I mean? And you know, that wake up, you know. And not talking about being woke, because woke has been changed into something.
It's just one of them things that white people
It's a
took over.
buzzword now. Yeah.
It's one of those things that they're monetizing.
Yeah. So go ahead.
My approach to that is, number one, it starts with the kids.
Okay.
Right? You have to look at the youth and say, what do I want for them that I didn't have, or that I don't have?
Right. Or will not have, because maybe it's time.
Which is understanding my identity. And then if I don't have the opportunity to understand my identity, and that's something that I can't pass on, let me help them understand what it is that they do have control of.
Oh, good. And let me cap onto that, because that is what white privilege is. Yeah. And that's become a buzzword as well. But if you analyze what white privilege is, white privilege, for what it's worth, is a person born into a way of thinking. So white privilege says, this is who I am, this is how I was raised, this is how my family is.
My forefathers created this great country.
Yes.
All of that shit.
And so
it's a psychological game.
You're born into a form of privilege. Black people are not born into a form of privilege because they don't understand the strength of who they are. But we do have privilege. If you look, okay, listen, the way Black history works is that 1 month out of the year, okay, people get online and somebody that's forgotten or unsung, they'll post their picture and people are like, oh, that's interesting.
All these restaurants,
right.
And all of this shit. Oh, free fried chicken.
Yeah, support
on
Black
Friday
business.
Or whatever, you know.
Support Black business, you know. Look at the Black excellence. And those are buzzwords too. Black people are very good at buzzwords.
But they're tools.
Yeah.
Used against us. When they see,
Absolutely.
When they start seeing things that resonate with us, they immediately capitalize on them. The whole Black Lives Matter thing, you know, that was one of the biggest follies of the last nearly 10 years.
Yeah, Taurus said, just when you tell the truth, they call it a conspiracy.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the Black community is noted for being big on conspiracy in their minds.
Well,
everything
is
is conspiracy.
It's because we don't know who we are. All we have to work with is what we're told. So the moment we start asking questions, bringing in outside information, shit that we went and found ourselves, then we get white people, Mexican, you know, all these other races going, well, that's not the way that it's in the book.
Right.
You're, you know, there's something wrong with the way that you're thinking. Don't you understand that there's all this literature that says otherwise? This is who you really are.
Right. Right.
And many of us back down.
Right.
Many of us don't want to be called crackpots and all of this kind of shit.
Which is bullshit, because when you go to other cultures, like I said, man.
Well, we get ridiculed for aiming to think a little bit differently than what we're told. That's a childlike position. And not just by white people have everyone fooled into correcting us, telling us who we are,
Their perception
who we're
of
not.
us. Yeah.
This is who they are. Don't let them think any differently.
Because they own a lot of the conglomerates and the ways of material to be shown to the world. Like I said, when you go out of the country, you really see how they see Black Americans. You really see when you go out of the country how they see you as a Black American. Going back to what you were saying about the children, enforcing and empowering the children, if you do that, if you take that upon yourself, because I think a lot of times, it's something we always talk about in martial arts, there's a point where you have to teach.
Yeah, and it starts with giving them, if you can't give them where they came from, you can give them who they are. Look at the world around you. I make that's one thing that I drive home every class that I teach. Look at the world around you and how everyone wants to emulate something about you.
Absolutely.
The way that teaching works is it does begin with confidence. I have to give you confidence first to work with the material that I'm giving you. Everything else from there is an uptrend.
Yes. Go ahead. So we're talking about that, guys. It should be your responsibility to pretty much put into perspective how you're going to approach taking the information that you may have or the information that you need to gain and giving that to the children, because the children is the answer. By doing that, you'll find things. And that's a paying forward type of mindset. A lot of times we get in trouble because it's kind of like when I was a kid, I would make the honor roll. I talked about this on a previous show. And the other kids would bully me about being a person who strove to be smart, strove to be the best at having the knowledge that I had. Even though, there are some things in school that you learn that will stay with you. Most of it is stuff that's all part of programming. Their little camps, the knowledge that they give our kids, man, it's really sad, to see that. And of course, teachers are ill-equipped now, in so many different ways, in so many different regards. Black history, is it important? Is it something that once a year, 1 month out the year, we should be celebrating? Or is it something that we should be doing every month of the year, like anything else? I'm very big on not getting caught up into holidays and stuff. I think that a birthday, yes, you celebrate it, that's fine if that's your thing, blah, blah, blah. But these holidays, I don't get caught up in them. So when Black History rolls around, let me ask you that. Do you feel a sense of pride when Black History Month pops up?
Nope, don't care. Because of the implications. You guys are giving me a designated time
to celebrate your blackness.
To be celebrated, to be appreciated. This is the only time that the world is supposed to feel like we're more than just
spyglass on us.
Yeah.
How about you guys out there? How do you feel once Black History Month rolls around? Do you feel a sense of pride? Are you invigorated? Do you are there any routines that people enforce in their family or in their community where they go, oh, okay, this month I'm really going to be about the Black culture. I'm really going to be about Black America and what we contributed to the world. If you saw last Tuesday what we went over, you see that there's a theme every month, every year, every Black History Month, there's a theme. Is that theme something that you look forward to? If you knew about it, because we didn't even know, and we were very. Torres said it's all an illusion, and he's right.
Absolutely an illusion. One of the things that that we like to say is that they always come up with some form of Novocaine to shut us up. The Grammys is a perfect example. Last year, was the most racist thing in the world. Most racist thing in the world. No, we're not fucking with the Grammys. Y'all are disrespecting us. this year, what is everybody? Oh,
Beyonce.
Jesus Christ, Beyonce
More
won.
Grammys than ever.
Too many Grammys. You know what I'm saying? All of that stupid shit, man. But everybody went from we're no longer supporting this, and y'all and white people are just gonna have to deal with that. You know, they trick us into fiending for their acknowledgement.
Yeah, Taurus just said that. He said, you know, they want you to think that they care. Of course, anybody that's looking to control you are going to make you think that they care. That's part of the process. And so what has to happen is that you have to do your research. Thank you, brother. You have to do your research. Guys, we got a little bit of food here. It's been one of those days, so.
You know what I'm saying? So.
You have to do your research, and you have to accept the harsh truth and reality of that research. You know, you have to accept that. Oh, more than likely, I won't even use that, but that's fine. Thank you. I appreciate it. Taurus said, "My God, don't get me started about the satanic music industry." Oh, you're at that level.
Oh, man, look, we don't even have enough. That's a whole nother show.
Which we will do sometime this year, Taurus, because I came out of the music industry, and that's how I got into the film industry. There were so many things that I had to acknowledge, and it's just like with the history. Thank you, Antonio. And there were so many things that I had to face up to. And Antonio and I were talking about that before the show. Like, you know, how high does one want to get? You know what I mean? A lot of people in the music industry, black and white, are high-level witches, high-level warlocks.
And doing some of any and everything
to get where they got.
Just to be noticed.
And to stay there, because there's a point where...
It's addictive.
Yeah, it's like any form of business acumen. You know, if you make 10 million next year, you want to make 20. You know, everybody, America knows me. I want everybody in England to know me. I want everybody in Germany. I want everybody in Africa to know me. Now I want to, I want to win more Oscars than this person, or I want to win more Grammys.
I want to catch up to Beyonce.
Yeah. I want to have more hits than Beyonce. You know what I'm saying? So, we digress, but in regards to Black History Month, there is a reason why that was instituted as well, and it was a pacifier.
Yep, absolutely.
With
it's Novocaine.
Yeah, it's Novocaine. It's Novocaine. It's pacification.
Something to shut down our anger.
Yes, because they instituted that anger. You know, and when you look at the Black American movement, or melanated people movement here in America, you see the different eras and the different things that was going on, coming out of the
slavery to sharecropping, to civil rights,
Reformation, or Reformation, and then civil rights into the 70s movement, where you had blaxploitation.
Which I think was one of the worst eras.
Yeah, it was. But that was a CIA-operated movement as well, too.
That's where Ramsey, they absolutely started changing the public image
of black people. Yeah.
Everybody's a pimp.
Yeah.
Everybody's some kind of jive motherfucker.
Yeah.
And all of this kind of bullshit.
You know, with the hand.
The women are super over-sexualized. You know, it's always right in front of our faces, man. You know? How does one deal with that? I mean, listen, because, like I said, we're most people will say, "Oh, you're just woke." There's a specific word that they call black people who are in books and stuff like that. Young viewers out there, you know what I'm saying?
Lady Muse, where you at? Because she would know it. There's a specific word that they call black people, or this and Hotep, thank you. Hotep.
That's a joke. They turned it into a joke.
Wepa said, generation trauma is linked to our DNA. What do you think about that?
I agree. We're predisposed, to have these concerns and inhibitions when dealing with white people, the world, the system. Even when they take these things away, A lot of the kids now who think that not slavery, but they think racism and all of these things don't exist, and they've never even actually been educated on what it is.
Right. They don't know what it is.
You know, but they still have unfounded fear of the police, unfounded fear of how they're going to be treated in the workplace and so forth. So it's like, where is this coming from? You know, it's the things that there are things that they're not acknowledging, things that they're not being told, not even being warned about. How do you have black children and send them out into the world without any of the tools necessary to actually survive and to thrive?
So we can blame the parents on that.
It's not even just the parents, man. It's
The community.
There's an entire agenda behind it. You know, there's a whole thing growing up when I was a kid of every young black chick wants to get with a light skinned dude or a Mexican so that their baby can have good hair.
Colorism.
You know.
And
Black
it's still
girl-
like that somewhat
Yeah.
because it's flipped
Not
now.
somewhat. It's exactly that.
Well, the reason why I'm saying somewhat is because
Well, now you can love it. Love doesn't have a color.
yes, and so you hear a lot of black guys, they'll post on Instagram or Facebook, this is how I want my daughter or my son to be, and it's usually a light-skinned kid with gray eyes and curly hair.
Well, because that's what they've been tricked into believing.
I always say to people too that unfortunately the music industry was very detrimental in a lot of how the
It was
black
very vital
community.
in the destruction of our community.
As much as I love it, I love music, but I see that a lot on how it affected, and also now even current day sports players and entertainers, what they're doing. You know what I mean?
One of the things I always like to point out. Think about. I don't watch a lot of TV, but even this isn't just start happening like the last 15 or so years. Think about the commercials. You know, when you watch a commercial,
Yeah.
there's a pretty consistent dynamic.
Yeah.
You know, if a black man and black woman are together with kids in a commercial, they're usually in a bit of a rundown environment. It's never like a big mansion or a happy middle class home. You know, they're always like, it's like all of them stuffed into an apartment and it's cluttered. Now, on the flip side, even more often, you'll see the black woman ecstatic, happy, going through no stress, no problems, with a bunch of mixed kids and a goofy ass white dude. And they're in some really nice place, or they're out in the field and there's flowers and motherfuckers got scarves and all kind of shit blowing in the wind. You know what I mean?
But that's pushed. That's part of the narrative now.
There has to be a reason that's what's being selected. You know, it's not some unfounded pattern. Something is going on with that. And I know, again, we get in the whole conspiracy realm, but why is it not okay to ask the question? Why is this happening? I've seen this a million different ways, a million different times. What is it that's happening with this? What is it that's going on? You know, and if you're not urging your children to be critical thinkers and force them not to just accept whatever it is that's
being fed to them.
That's being fed to them. You know, you got to take these kids off of these damn tablets and off of these phones and
Or
smart devices.
put them onto stuff that's available on those things, right?
Well, they got to learn to govern and manage those devices themselves. Many people don't even know that these devices have those options. You know, and that's even more so unfortunate. The issue with that is, and I had this conversation recently on Facebook. You know, a lot of these kids can't even read.
Yeah.
And we're talking about not just the little kids, like teenagers.
Right, but that was a movement that happened. I lived through that movement. That was a movement that happened where it was no child left behind. See?
Yeah, I remember.
So that was that thing of, okay, if they can't read, that's fine. We'll
they don't
push
pass,
them through.
just push them through to the next level.
And So there, you know, when we talk about black excellence, I think that's misguided because people think, all right, you know, Beyonce is the epitome of black excellence, and it's like
she's not pushing to young men and women to go and get college educated.
no, she's charging $5,000 a ticket,
You know,
and you know, jeopardizing these people's livelihood because they want the Beyonce experience.
absolutely.
And listen, we live in a capitalistic society. You know, Weber said, yeah, New Age slavery, we keep ourselves down through music and self-hate. Wow, God damn, go for it, brother.
It's the truth.
Yeah. You know, thank you so much for that. That was great. They are good. Listen, it's exhausting to me because I love my culture. And how I ended up loving my culture was, like I said, you know, and I think we'll, you know, once we be able to fully get ourselves off the ground, we'll be able to offer that, you know, 5 boys, 5 girls, maybe 10.
Yeah,
Send them
absolutely.
overseas somewhere, let them experience it. Yeah, she's definitely part of the elite, Taurus. When we talk about the current day and we see what's happening, you know, there is no pride in the community. There's pride in things.
Even in the way that we carry ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, the way that we dress. I seen something the other day on Facebook. People were championing that ironing your clothes is not really a thing anymore. You know, it's the little things, but how you present yourself, how the world sees you, how the world perceives you, that is important. Especially collectively. You know, when collectively all we're focused on is gotta get some jewelry. You know, gotta look like I'm having the most fun on Instagram and eating nothing but bad food and, you know, drinking party all the fucking time. Oh man, all I do is get high. That's just me. You know? And all of these things have our faces all over it. That's all the world sees. That's all we see. Not to mention, don't get me started on the violence
Especially
of reality television.
Yeah, which is actually showing up now. You're seeing it in schools.
You're seeing real people.
You're seeing it
now
in airports,
emulating what it is that they've seen on reality television. You know, one of the things I told you guys before, but I really urge anyone who's genuinely curious about how far this reaches. There's a show on Netflix called Rich and African. They're in South Africa. They don't know nothing about, and not to say that they don't have a similar struggle of their own, but what the fuck do they know about what we're going through? Using our language, the way that we use it, and speaking Ebonics and their weird French Creole accent over there and all of this shit, which is fine, whatever. But it's some form of blackface when you watch on there our people over in South, or our brothers and sisters over in South Africa, acting a fucking fool.
It's a
Netflix reality show.
It's a form of mockery. You saw what I had sent you through Facebook in regards to the Somalians.
Yeah.
They were having that meeting, and it was a Somalian church, and they were basically talking about black men. And they were saying, you know, over there they have 40 women, right? You saw that, and they're all sitting there in agreement. This and basically it's a Facebook page that I follow where the guy shows how in Africa they have this perspective of black American men. And it's consistent. He always posts different actual video footage. And they were talking in that church how bad black American men are. They don't stay with their women. And, you know, that's why here in Somalia we have 4. Just 4. Remember he said
Which
just 4.
The statistics do not, predicate that at all. Not even a little bit.
No, most black men here in the States would be happy just to have one woman and take care of his kids, work his job.
Just to be left alone.
Yeah, we're not all looking to be rappers and musicians and basketball players and, pimps or whatever.
To be
Drug
left alone
dealers.
to enjoy peace, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Enjoy some regular media or whatever, and be able to raise my kids and let them know that there's some fairness out there in the world for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something that we're afforded as Black Americans.
Right, and that's what I meant by the white privilege. Because with white privilege, and that you have to be careful, because a lot of times you guys are mistaken about what white privilege really is. It became a buzzword, and that's why people are throwing it around. But the privilege to be able to pursue
anything that your heart desires.
Yes,
and there's some bit of potential success associated with it.
Yes. Because listen, you have to understand, a lot of times people say, well, you're blaming the current day people for slavery. That's not what we're doing. What we're saying is that they were the benefactors of what happened.
And if they're
of
not
stolen land,
stolen labor,
stolen information, because you have to understand that it's easier for somebody to take your idea than it is for them to come up with it. Mm-hmm. And if they have the resources, this is something that I've learned. If they have the resources to take your idea, and you see this even with there's a specific drink, alcohol, whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
You know the story of the whiskey.
Yeah. The Jack Daniels.
Mm-hmm. And you see how he took that idea and
took the recipe.
Yeah, and made it his own, and made, countless of ends off of that.
And that family did fight, and they got there was some reparative action took in their favor. But
if you already know this, then it's nothing new. But all inventions that were made under slavery was ownership.
Yeah.
Became ownership of the slave master.
Kentucky Fried Chicken, just one of those. It's just chicken, but is it really when there's KFC all around the world today, off of that person or that family's recipe?
Because those things were made by slaves, and the way, like a lot of the food was created by Black people because of the limitations of what they had, and they were able to take it and make it palatable, and also put a spin on it. You know this because you're very much into food. And so what is pancakes was called hoe cakes.
Right.
Okay? And if you're in the South, you know what a hoe cake is. And there's different ones. Cornbread.
I was about to say the cornmeal ones are way
Yeah.
better.
Cornbread, right? You had all different types of cornbread being made.
Hush puppies.
Hush puppies, right? Which,
there's a story associated with that. But
however much truth that is. But
Right.
you guys have got to do your research. If you hear something, look it up. Find out.
not
if
just
it's true.
the deflection in saying, man, you got to do your research. It's not an elitist statement. It's truly ask a question. We were all told what? Martin Luther King did X, Y, Z. This is who he was.
Well, let me look
Okay,
deeper.
well,
let
me
me look
ask a
deeper.
question.
Yeah, let me look deeper. Because listen, if you know anything, all you listeners, we're talking truth. Like, okay, if you know anything about the boule, there's a long line. Listen, this is what you got to know. There are a lot of people who are on YouTube exposing a lot of the truth.
Yep.
And all you have to do is watch one video of someone saying what you were taught, it's not the truth. And you will go down a rabbit hole.
And there are plenty, and again, make sure you understand that you won't be going down the path of the conspiracy theorists. There are plenty of YouTubers, plenty of bloggers, and even forum goers who provide backup evidence. Places where you can go and verify a lot of this information. It's okay to ask the question.
Right.
You don't have to sit with, constantly hearing, oh, black people are this way. You know, that gets pushed into your psyche.
Well,
and then you become that. You never question it.
The people who are considered hoteps, because you have different types of labels. Now the hoteps,
Right.
you know, you have. I think what they did that helped them in their favor was that they threw out different forms of knowledge that people adhere to. Right.
Yeah. You make it a mixture.
Right. And so if you look at a lot of the American customs, and you know, a lot of American customs are based on, you know, America is, I hate to use the word, but it is a melting pot of different cultures. You have different people from all over the world. If you go to New York, I grew up in New York, and in New York, you can walk down the street and meet 20 different people from 20 different places. And that was always the gift of living in New York. New York is the central hub of where everything starts. Remember when everything was going on with the jab, it all started in New York, and then it transferred over to L.A. So whatever you see happens in New York, because New York is the central hub of the world, all flights come there, right? The biggest airports are there. And that's why they always want to shut that down when diseases are breaking out, because it's like, you know, that's where it starts there and it moves all out, right? That one little state, one little city. When you look at a lot of the customs and the religions and the different things, you start to see that a lot of that came from back over in the Mesopotamian and
Sumerian.
Babylonian, Sumerian.
Yeah.
And so one God can have 5 names.
Yep. Because of Greek invasion.
Yes.
Arab invasion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have so many different mythologies that borrow from
Each other.
some of the oldest civilizations in the world. And they just picked it up and said, wow, this, you know, I understand this. I resonate something about this resonates with
it
me.
reaches to me. Yeah. So why am I saying
And then
that?
they duplicate it.
Yeah. So why am I saying that? And it's because as a culture, the black community, the black American, and I'm staying on the black American community because that's what they hit.
That's also what we have power over.
Yes, they hit us. They didn't. You know, Black history is celebrated in certain places of the world, like you said in England, but it's made to control. I say it again. It's made to control Black Americans, because if you can control the Black Americans,
you control their dollar.
You control their dollar,
their psyche, their future,
and you can control everybody else, because you're controlling those people and how their image is. So now everyone who wants to be them is controlled.
Yep.
Right? So what just happened recently? LeBron James, there's this big stink that he beat who was Wilt Chamberlain.
Or was it Kareem?
No, it's Wilt. It's Wilt. He beat his record on, you know, the most points. And you know, people, I've seen a couple of videos of people like, yo, what is this? Like, there's this God thing that you're watching when you see the commercial they did. They used a pastoral type of, you know, like, you know, and it's like they knew they were hitting Black people with that.
Absolutely.
Because the pastor energy that is behind it is that of the Black pastors. It's not of any other. You know, you can use
and there's
a religious,
a huge difference.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? You can use any religion, right? But if you put a Black person on it, now it's much more powerful.
It makes it more interesting to people.
Yes,
it just does.
Yes,
you know, we are attractive as a people. We're intriguing as a people. You know, and the moment our face gets put on something that's good, it goes bananas. The moment that our face is put on something bad, you know, on the opposite end of the spectrum, it goes bananas in its own way.
Which is what we're seeing with Tyree Nichols and that whole incident there.
Yeah. Now, the Black face or the Black American is the face of police brutality.
Yeah.
Amazing.
How it flips overnight.
Astounding. Oh, we got to do something about these cops. You know, why aren't we training them better? Or, you know, they're already passing different legislation and laws in support of fixing this issue that apparently just became a thing.
It's the first time the president actually has mentioned anything about it in his whole run. The whole, most of it. Even I remember there was a real serious incident that happened.
Yeah.
Obama didn't even speak on it. He spoke more on LGBT rights than he spoke on. Yeah. So what we're saying is, there's a point of a collective, there can be an awakening. I don't like to use woke because, awaken means present tense. There's an awakening. Right. Woke means you already are woke, and that's not true. It's misused. It's a misnomer. That's not true. The Black American community, even when people say that they're woke, they really aren't woke because they're accepting the history or the truth that's been given to them. Taurus said, "Rich white people make me mad because every time we tried to create our own wealth through history, they destroyed it."
Yep.
Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
That's the absolute truth.
Yeah. So it's a thing of saying, okay, what do we do about it? All right. It starts with you. It starts with you making the difference, with you educating and empowering yourself. And then by example, you spread the knowledge. It's kind of what CMCT is all about. We're here with you guys on Tuesday and Thursday night to help you realize that through understanding what topics we're talking about, that we have some options on how we can move forward with things. It's never about being a thing of, we know something you don't know, because we didn't know until Tuesday that there was these
themes for Black History Month. And it's been an agenda for over nearly 100 years now.
Yeah, if you do the work, you'll see that each theme resonated and related with something that happened during time that was very, combustible. And it's like, oh, wow, look at that. Oh, and then a year later, 2 years later. So it was very interesting to see. So for this year's theme to be Black resistance, man, that's it's very scary.
And speaking of Black resistance,
I did see that. Yeah.
We're on a different webpage over here on YouTube. For those who are on Instagram and Facebook here with us, you can't see the beautiful imagery that we're providing.
Mm-hmm.
But there was an incident. I just kind of want to bring light on it as far as what the gentleman was saying about anytime we are on the uptrend,
mm-hmm.
We've created something
mm-hmm.
that's all our own. There's some hope of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
It always gets put down, destroyed even, and it's purposefully. It's never an accident. There's a reason why we have no form of Black Wall Street. There's a couple different things going on in places like Atlanta, but it's not massive.
Mm-mm.
It's not community binding, the way that things were before. There's a gentleman in Colorado and his family, and something very auspicious has been going on. I'm gonna read this.
And before he reads, guys, you have to understand, for anybody to be in the farming and ranching occupation, that is a lot of work. A lot of us are very comfortable. We can go to a store and we rely upon people to stock our food.
Yep. You get tomatoes,
right?
And
you didn't even come from someone who came from doing sharecropping or doing farming.
Right.
We're so far removed from. I've seen a movement lately on Instagram. I love watching it, where there's a lot of Black guys who are into, agriculture and agriculture.
I follow a couple dudes.
And it's good to see them, man. They're out there, tending into the garden, and they eat off the land, and which, unfortunately, the way the government makes it is you cannot even, eat off the land anymore.
Nope,
it's against the law. But go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, of course. So, but just back on the tune of what it is that they do to us when we find some vision and we look to rebalance ourselves and start shifting our community or even our, your immediate household.
Mm-hmm.
They do something to disrupt.
Mm-hmm.
It says matters escalate for Colorado black ranchers. Courtney Mallory gets arrested.
That's odd that they would put his whole name in the header, because they never really do that.
Usually last name.
Yeah, or they would just say Black Rancher.
They got us. This so things like this to me, especially when it starts hitting the news and shit like that, it's another form of a lynching.
Mm-hmm.
They want the world to see you being destroyed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your family has to watch you be castrated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, none of these things are by accident.
Mm-mm.
You know, we may not call it lynching, we may not call it slavery anymore, but it's still right in front of your face every time it happens. I'm gonna read the title one more time, and then I'll get into the article. It says, matters escalate for Colorado black ranchers. Courtney Mallory gets arrested. And this was on February 7th, by the way. Couple says that an officer's lies led to husband's arrest for a warrant issued after they continued to report ongoing harassment, threats, and surveillance from residents and even law enforcement. On Monday, black rancher, they had to label him, black rancher, and they put black in capital.
Well, yeah, and because the thing is that it gives the reader a perspective, and that's what we were talking about.
They're building a narrative here. Now, luckily, you know, the people who wrote this, they're not assholes, but, you know, there's still something to it.
Right.
So, on Monday, black rancher Courtney Mallory was taken into custody by El Paso County deputy sheriffs. The detainment occurred while Mallory and his wife, Nicole, were live streaming a succession of videos on Instagram near a Starbucks in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Mr. Mallory explained that he was preparing to turn himself in. Though he thought he had more time, he discovered the arrest would occur sooner than he anticipated. Minutes later, another live stream showed him in a state trooper's patrol car. While Mrs. Mallory broadcasted the arrest, she requested the public to phone the local sheriff's office. Let's flood these lines to make sure that Courtney Mallory is not harmed while he's in custody, directed an upset Nicole to those who watched the stream. For over 2 years, the couple has been in an intense political and legal battle with law enforcement and some residents in their predominantly white town. The town is located in El Paso County. The Mallorys allege that they have been targeted because they are black ranchers in a predominantly white locale where residents reject them living there. Subsequently, they have been subjected to ongoing harassment, property damage, surveillance, and other racialized attacks. At the heart of their allegations is Emery Ray
Gerhardt.
Gerhardt? Sure. Great name. A local El Paso County officer. His wife is Shannon Gerhardt, a Colorado judge who sits on the 4th Judicial Branch.
Oh, there it goes.
Here we go. Mr. Mallory told Arc Republic, which is the website that we're reading this article from. Mr. Mallory told Arc Republic that Gerhardt had repeatedly threatened to file charges against him for their multiple complaints over the years. Before his arrest, Mr. Mallory explained that the warrant was a result of Gerhardt's lies and false charges, which is in quotations. At one point, during her husband's detainment, Mrs. Mallory yelled, "Gerhardt is a liar. He's a racist." In response to Arc Republic's previous reporting, the El Paso County Sheriff's Department emphasized that they remain committed to fostering safety for our community and our neighbors while ensuring constitutional and civil rights are upheld regardless of race, color, national origin, or any other legally protected characteristic. Legally protected. Ain't no protection for us, nigga. I don't know how any of those categories fit into legal protection for us. Anyway, documents obtained by Arc Republic show a mailed notice was signed by Gerhardt on December 12, 2022. The charges are stalking, tampering with the utility meter, and petty theft. The charges are felonies and can lead to jail time. Is this a part of the article? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, that is. Well,
a link,
it's a link to another article. He said, "I stood naked with my shotgun."
Oh, holy shit! Yeah, this is insane. Damn. Well, that's a link to the article, but this is a quote by Mr. Mallory. He says, "I stood naked with my shotgun," or maybe that wasn't his quote. Somebody. Black ranchers say white residents terrorized their Colorado farm to push them off of their land. "I'm not well, but this is a part of it," soberly stated Mr. Mallory as he was handcuffed in the state trooper's car. According to the couple, one of the officers at the scene, Deputy Sheriff Ronnie Hancock, is an ally of Gerhardt. The couple refers to the officer and those complicit in local department as Gerhardt's goons because they have allowed the targeted actions against the Mallorys to persist.
It's pretty much the KKK.
Yeah. You know, they got their own network, and they're doing anything that they can to disrupt these people. While on the live stream, Mrs. Mallory accused Deputy Hancock of refusing to provide information during Mr. Mallory's arrest. Shortly thereafter, he and others, officers at the scene, began to detail where Mr. Mallory would be taken and the process involved in bonding him out. Mr. Mallory's bond is set at $2,000. Ark Republic reached out to El Paso County Sheriff's Communications Office for a comment. At press time, they have yet to release a statement about the warrant or arrest.
Right.
However, a statement by Sheriff Roybal requested that the Black and Latino Coalition Leadership Council coordinate a meeting with the Mallorys to address ongoing concerns raised by the couple and the onslaught of social media distribution of the issue. That's bullshit.
Yeah, of course.
So
But,
this is the thing.
but
It's
we don't
been
know
going
why
on
he
for
was
2
arrested and
years.
what the warrant is.
Well, they said that it was they didn't detail exactly what it was that was stolen or whoever he was supposed to have been stalking and all of those things. But let me see, requested coordinated meeting. What are these? Oh, this goes to Instagram. Oh, they have the actual that letter. Mr. Willie, this is from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office by Sheriff Joseph J. Roybal, or Roybal, whatever. Mr. Willie Brazelli? Brazel. Sure. I, Joseph Roybal, as the newly elected sheriff of El Paso County, respectfully request the Black and Latino Leadership Coalition assist in coordinating a meeting with Mr. and Mrs. Courtney and Nicole Mallory. I am requesting all interested parties meet in an effort to address ongoing concerns which have been brought forward by Mr. and Mrs. Mallory and indirectly by others through various social media platforms. Additionally, would you consider including a panel of members which are diverse representation of the community to be included in this panel? It would be reasonable to involve members of the eastern El Paso County community who are also impacted by the ongoing concerns. We are seeking your assistance to determine a neutral location and facilitate the discussion. It is my hope this meeting is the beginning of efforts and understanding to ensure a safe community for all. Your help is greatly appreciated on this matter. This is the thing. Nigga, you guys are the fucking police. You can't go and impose that same will on the people who are harassing them. It's that simple. It doesn't take a letter to this fucking committee and, let's organize something, let's get this cracking or whatever, whatever the fuck they're. That's bullshit, man. Makes no sense.
Well, I mean, when you look at the badge, you know what I'm saying? We talked about that on Tuesday. You're dealing with the KKK, and they're still very much in power. It's not just what people think when they see somebody marching.
You gotta have the white hood.
Like, not at all. It's a fraternal brotherhood, man. And a lot of people still feel that, having it around for people who benefit from it, the KKK is beneficial for them, and it's a form of protecting white rights.
Right. Absolutely.
Which is listen. Right now, the way the hierarchy works is black men who are heterosexual are at the fucking bottom.
Yep.
Right. But
not only heterosexual, if they're masculine.
Oh yeah. They have a word for it. There's a word that they use. I can't remember the name.
Oh, whatever the toxic cis male.
Yeah, cis male, cisgender male at the bottom. Right. I don't do right now, there's a battle. This is funny. Right now, there's a battle for white males and gay black males.
Yeah.
Shifting right here. And then you have black women, and you have white women. Then you have everybody else who's the elite at the top. And so when you're looking at it and you're saying, what the question becomes this, because it's always about accountability. How can you make a difference? Well, listen, a lot of you out there who are listening, you know people who have some form of financial power. people that get out the hood or whatever. You look at all these rappers and all these entertainers and all these people who are in politics that eventually end up with a certain amount of finances. Yeah. In the end, it always boils back down to what he had just read was about the threat of these people making money.
Yeah, I forget how many acres it said they were on, but they're on a pretty significant amount of acres.
Which was probably, if I'm pretty sure if we do the research, it's probably something that they inherited, because there are families in this country, black families or families who are melanated, like if you know the Native Americans, you can't fuck with them, man. How many applications have you seen where they ask, are you a native, right? You know what I'm saying? You have to check it off. Are you a native, or are you of this tribe? Are you tribal?
All of these different ways to legally or to identify us so that they can legally bind us into a specific identity.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so they will have that, are you tribal, and blah, 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 or whatever. So I would love to see if how they received it was through inheritance, because even if you have money as a person of melanin, as a black person, a lot of times you will get denied the opportunity to buy something. I mean, look, it said black ranchers claim terrorism by white neighbors.
I'm trying to see where these damn papers are at. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to read them.
The arrest papers or the
yeah,
right there. It says the arrest papers of Courtney Mallory.
It's a YouTube.
Oh, it's YouTube. Okay, yeah. No, we'll get in trouble, guys. Sorry.
Pulling up for you tonight.
God damn it! I just muted the fucking tab. Come on, man. They put them up. Nope. Yeah. Well, we can't. We're not about to put that up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, unfortunately, but the arrest papers are just released, you know. I really just wanted to identify how much land. Thousand-acre plot of land with a range of goats, pigs, and other things. So.
And they slayed something. What did they slay?
Where's that? That's on this one, right?
Yeah, it says white neighbors try to drive out black ranchers by slaying.
Yeah, they were. I think they were killing their animals. They had poisoned their dogs and a bunch of other shit. Yeah, it was a whole thing, man.
Slaying their livestock.
Let's see. Hold on. Let me pull this up on YouTube real quick. I know we're getting close on time. Like, subscribe, share. All right. So it says, white neighbors try to drive out black ranchers by slaying their livestock. The neighbors are accused of stalking a black couple and vandalizing their property. What in the American Horror Story do we have here?
Wow.
A black Colorado family recently repaired their ranch following some flood damage, only for their white neighbors to terrorize both them and their livestock. According to 9 News, however, their complaints about the stalking and harassment actually backfired on them. Courtney W. Mallory and his wife Nicole own the Freedom Acres Ranch, a 1,000-acre plot of land with a range of goats, pigs, chickens, and every good thing a farm should have. Then, in 2020, they began waking up to beheaded, butchered, and missing animals. Graphic images shared with Ark Republic showed baby goats that were allegedly poisoned and a cow with its insides spilling on the ground. The Mallorys claim their white neighbors are to blame for these heinous acts, which are also possibly racially motivated. And if that's the case, their neighbors didn't stop at the animals. They also allegedly tried to kill and butcher the couple as well. Frequently, they must replace surveillance equipment after they see strangers pointing a device toward their cameras, which ends up jamming them and taking out the signal. Plus, their electricity lines have been cut, and neighbors have stolen well water by running an illegal line from their source.
Wow.
One day, Courtney was chased by a white man when repairing a portion of his fence. The aggressor, who was in a car, gunned for Courtney, who made it to his vehicle in just enough time to dash away in a hellish pursuit. Once he made it to the end of his property, the man steered the other way. One evening, Nicole was followed by a white woman who almost ran her car off the road, then put on high beams and pulled out what looked like a gun. The confrontation was exceptionally unnerving because Nicole was returning from a church function with her visiting nieces and nephew. Mr. Mallory told Ark Republic This is all a ploy to take his land, which El Paso County Sheriff Emery Gerhardt allegedly condoned. The Mallory say he'd been notified of the events happening at the ranch but hadn't made a single police report. After 2 years and 19 complaints, 6 restraining orders, and 170 calls, the sheriff threatened to arrest the couple if they dialed 911 again, Nicole said.
Wow.
Unfortunately, he kept his promise. On Monday, the Mallorys, both of them were arrested. I thought it was just the husband.
At first.
Okay. So on Monday, the Mallorys were arrested on felony warrants. Did they have the... No, I don't think they had. I thought they might have had the papers. All right, never mind. Where were we at? Or was that this one? Oh, what the hell? Okay, their links are not accurate. God damn it. Okay, cool. Where was I at?
Unfortunately, he kept his promise.
Unfortunately, he kept his promise. On Monday, the Mallorys were arrested on felony warrants for stalking. Despite their extensive allegations, one harassment complaint filed against the Mallorys seemed to be the only one that stuck, per 9 News. Now the NAACP is stepping in.
Woo!
Don't get me started on the NAACP, man. All right? I tried to get them involved when I was getting relegated out of the military.
They're boule. You wasn't a fraternal brother.
Yeah, nigga.
You wasn't, you know what I'm saying? You wasn't a Kappa or Alpha or, Omega.
Their whole little weird
They're
community.
boule. They're boule.
Yeah. But I would really hope that the El Paso County Sheriff's Department and several others in rural areas understand that we're taking this very seriously, said Portia Prescott, president of the Rocky Mountain NAACP, via 9 News. It needs to be taken a lot more seriously than they have taken it in the past, Prescott said. Was that it? Oh, yeah, that was it. That was a weird way to end that. Anyway.
What did that comment say? No better reason to exercise your Second Amendment rights, ranchers. It's their property and they deserve to have a sense of peace and safety. I think the absolute best possible solution, however, is getting armed security logistics support from any of your country's Black 2A rights groups. Never heard of that.
But you shouldn't have to do
Yeah, of course you shouldn't have
all of this.
Yeah.
They've already contacted the authorities and was it 170 fucking calls?
Yeah.
Nigga, we gonna arrest you if you call again.
Right. What kind of crap is that? And you're paying their taxes.
For 2 years, these people have been doing XYZ to us. You know? Where is the fairness? This is the thing that I was
But that's how it was
getting
during.
into.
But that's how it was during the time of the rise of the KKK.
Yeah.
Black people never had the same
but then
rights.
it wasn't no calling the cops. They knew, ain't no authority here to protect us. But today, when our history's being rewritten, actually, as a matter of fact, so I was talking to Dr. Willis today. They don't want her to teach AP Black History up at the private school. They're community funded.
Wow.
But their curriculum has to fit a certain thing so that it's still considered that the kids are in actual school and they get
funding,
get their diplomas and all of that bullshit. They don't even want them to teach Black history. So when that's what we're up against, is that they can't teach Black history. The kids aren't learning it really from anywhere.
The history is
parents
distorted.
are working, they're busy. The smart devices are raising these children. Who is it that's going to help them understand that that's what they're up against? There is no actual safe space for Black people, not here in America. Where's it going to come from? Who's going to educate these children and help arm them with knowledge and ready them for all of the different emotions and overwhelming feelings and thoughts that they're gonna incur when this kind of bullshit happens?
Because Black people are perceived viewers as violent and as angry, and so that's why just recently there was a woman who had an incident at I think it was Burger King, Black woman. And they didn't make her burger right, and she got into it with the people there. But they asked her to leave out, and she left out. When the cops showed up, they were very, very disrespectful to her. And you have to understand that that's how they perceive black women, to be violent. And that's why you got to hold these other people accountable.
To be like housewives and all of that bullshit.
Yeah, black women, you guys have the power to make a difference. Right? You always say that, okay, it's us, we're the ones that got to carry the community on our back and this and that. You have the power to actually get some legislation going to where you can be truly protected. Because the way they did this woman, you know, they were arresting her and detaining her for no reason. She had no reason to be detained or arrested. And the dude punched her in the mouth. You know, punched her and everything. So she's got a great lawsuit. And what happens is you guys always say, oh, man, sue, sue, sue. But where do you think that money comes from?
Got to come from somewhere.
It comes from the city. It's not coming from the pension of the cop or the people who did the damage to her. That person will lose that job in that position and get placed someplace else.
They might lose it.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they'll just get, you know, paid administrative leave. Back to what you were saying. You know, listen, we can never assume that the rights that white America has will ever be the rights that black America has. We can't.
That's one of the biggest challenges, even getting that point across.
Well, because listen, you know, black people expect white people to be their champions.
They're friends.
They expect them to be the word that they use. The buzzword is allies.
They tell us who our leaders are, which is insane. We don't even pick our own leaders. We don't pick the people that matter the most to us. They decide. They televise them. They give them that push in the media and say, it's just, this person's doing X, Y, Z. This is who you guys should be following.
Yeah. So it goes back to what I've always said, which is part of my fight in being in the entertainment industry. I fight to change the narrative in regards to how we are seen as a people. It's very important. And listen, I'm not knocking anybody that's out there making their money. You know, I know what it is to be broke. Trust me. Yeah. You know, the struggle is real, but you cannot sell your soul. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about doing a contract in blood. I'm saying the soul of your community, the soul of the future of those children who, once you pass on and don't leave that money to anybody, somebody else's family, their child suffers because of the decisions that you made. Because of the decisions that you've made.
When you go somewhere and act a fool, guess what?
Reflects back on us.
All of us. Anyone who's seen you act the way that you acted, that means that every black person who comes after you may have to deal with that. The collective black image.
Which is funny because to hear people be like, oh, look, y'all just overreact about everything. It's like, you don't get it.
It's not an overreaction.
Yeah, they don't get it.
Nigga, when you can't even go to a nice restaurant without being looked at crazy. You know what I'm saying? I made reservations at a spot. It's a spot down here called Beck's, actually. I'm going to call them niggas out. We in there sitting down, waiting. Eric and his nephew finally show up. And the lady basically was like, what are you, like nigga, what are you doing here? You know what I'm saying? Because he's trying to get to the tables. We had the reservation.
It's all in the eyes.
Yeah, telling her who we are. And she basically treated that nigga like, niggas don't be up in here.
You don't have the money.
You know what I'm saying? And
real quick, guys, a lot of racism is based on the financial aspects of things, you know. People perception of you because you don't have money, yes.
There's tiers, you know?
But go ahead,
everyone thinks that, you know, they're being a part of a particular class or, social group or network that makes them more important as a person, as a life, than you. And then you add the stigma, the narrative, the rhetoric that plagues the black existence on top of that. What do we have? What is not against us? And I'm not saying that this means that we're destitute, that there's no hope, and that there's no way, but I'm saying it's important to understand it so you know why it's your duty. You're charged with going out and standing tall.
Representing correctly. So go ahead, finish what you were saying.
We got to be on a particular code, and we're not.
No, I'm talking about the Eric situation in the restaurant.
Oh, that was it. You know, he still got to the table and shit, but they gave him a fucking hard time. I ended up having to go up there.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. How many of you guys go through that throughout a week, or you've been through it this year so far? Because you know, you will experience it, and you know, a lot of times.
And that food was trash. Don't eat at Beck's.
Wow.
Terrible food.
So there you go.
It's actually some of the worst food I've had.
Wow.
We all ended up giving our food back.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And they're hella expensive.
Mm-hmm. So they got the nerve to be expensive to serve bad food.
Expensive, prejudice, and flavorless.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That shit was garbage, nigga. But yeah, you know, just the collective black image is really important.
Yeah.
And this kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier about asking what is it that we can do to reinvigorate our community.
Mm-hmm.
And go through the children is where it starts.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. Yeah.
You gotta help them understand how important the collective black image is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Helping one another.
Right, and not just that. Oh, we were kings and queens. Listen.
Yeah, none of that. Listen, everybody can't be a king or a queen, nigga.
There were peasants and farmers and you know, blacksmiths,
janitors, and
janitors,
shit, you know
people that baled the hay of the horses.
And that's okay. That's honest work.
Yes, it was.
If
because
it feeds your family,
mm-hmm.
honestly,
mm-hmm.
you know, and you can go to sleep at night and get up and do it again and not have anything on your spirit
mm-hmm.
about what you did to support your family.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's tons of pride in that.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay not to have a crown.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, maybe a crown in your own respect. You can be the king of janitors.
Well, the crown is heavy, and that's what people don't realize.
The responsibility that actually comes along with being that.
Every king and queen had to be concerned not just of themselves and their household, but the whole community and the whole of all their people. And that's what people don't understand about true kingship and queenship.
Yeah.
You know, they don't get that. They just think, oh, well, you know, woman king.
It just means I kick back, I eat grapes. You know what I'm saying?
You know,
everybody's listening.
It's
to me.
the title.
Cool.
It's the title.
Yeah.
It's the title that excites people.
Most been watered down. Again, people are not understanding actual history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not just this jobless or taskless
mm-hmm.
existence.
Mm-hmm.
It's a heavy existence.
Mm-hmm.
Not that world's. The lives of that world are in your hands.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So
it's not a whimsical thing.
No, not at all. But that's, you know, we talk about that because the thing is, you know, every black woman in America is a queen. Yes, queen. Yes, king. You know, it's like, no, some of these people, man, you know what? Yeah, they may do a great job, but what do they do after they're acknowledged for that great job? Yeah. Because it should be, if you're a king or queen, I'm gonna hold you all accountable listening to this. What's your long-term objectives?
Yeah. You're charged with something if that is the title that you hold.
You got kids. What is your long-term objectives with your kids? When are you going to cut the umbilical cord and let them move on with the lessons that you're teaching them? Are you teaching them the lessons that they're going to need to survive?
Valuable enough lessons.
Or are you just letting them go to school? Because, you know, you see what's going on in the school. Just recently, and I'm going to talk about this before we head out. Yeah. Just recently, there was a young black brother who his mother found out that the young man was being molested on the bus by another teenage boy. The kid was 10 years old, and the teenage boy, I think, was 12 years old. And this was happening over a period of months. You know, you guys know how I feel about that stuff because, you know, I'm an advocate for, you know, young black men having to overcome sexual abuse. Guys, that's happening a lot more than you realize. And the problem is that for that woman to not be able to have an open communication with her son to where he can come home and tell her that this happened to me, you know, she's just as responsible as the bus driver and anybody else that saw it and turned their head. So now you got two damaged young brothers. One who is a predator.
Came from damage.
Mm-hmm, came from damage, obviously. And then you have another brother who's damaged. And then these two young brothers, as they get older, have to move out into the world and interact with other people.
They have to adjust. Will they be well adjusted?
Doubt it.
parts of
Doubt it.
our community and society.
Doubt it. A lot of you women right now, you're laying next to a man who's been sexually abused and he has not told you and probably never will.
Probably never told anyone.
Yeah. And you're wondering what's wrong with him from time to time and why he's so moody.
What is this with his disposition?
Why he act this way? I don't understand him. And instead of yelling at him, you should take the step to understand that we're all damaged, man. This community that I love trust me, I love the black community. Every film I've ever made, every film I've ever made, has been about the progression of the black community. Even if I have a negative character in the script, that person has redemption. Yeah. We have got to get to a point of understanding that it's within our bounds that we can make the difference. Stop waiting on everybody. Look, the theme of this year for black community, for the black black resistance.
Black resistance.
All right. So I'm gonna take it. No, I'm gonna take it. I resist the rhetoric and the bullshit. How about that? I'm a black man that resists the rhetoric and the bullshit.
Because somebody has to. And it has to be spoken about. It can't be, again, I've decided to do this, you've decided to do that, they're deciding to do something else. There has to be some sort of common accord. At the very least, our public image, collectively. Don't let the world see us managing our affairs, the community's affairs, on television, talk shows, and all of these different things,
Mm-hmm. And stop promoting bad behavior, y'all. Stop it. Like, I get it. Sometimes things are funny and you want to make a meme and you want to laugh.
There's no such thing as the baddest bitch. There's no such thing as the realest nigga. All of that stupid shit. And you're putting these things in these kids' heads, dressing these kids.
Mm-hmm.
Dressing these
kids. Promoting their bad
the
behavior.
Shit that's on television.
Promoting their, there was a clip I saw of a woman, feeding her son weed. Y'all got to stop that, man. But anyway, we don't want to end off on that. I don't really celebrate.
Just do better.
Yeah, just do better.
treat one another like there's some value associated with our existence. Mm-hmm. And it starts with the kids. The kids are the future. They're going to be here much longer than any of us.
So if you celebrate Black History Month, let's hold you to the charge of, taking a group of young kids and teach them. How about that?
Something simple.
Get a
book.
Yeah.
An article.
Yeah, don't take them to see Woman King. Don't take them to see Harriet and all that bullshit
This is your history.
Wakanda forever.
Here's something interesting about a black figure who did something great that maybe you didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
Give them some of that.
Mm-hmm.
There really is no reason for us to continue on the way that we have when, whether silently or overtly, we all know what it is that's going on. We all know that it's a huge responsibility to stand up and actually claim independence. It's a huge responsibility, but it has to start somewhere. I'd like to see it.
In your lifetime.
At least the movement
in your lifetime.
Begin in my lifetime.
Sure. Well, I tell you, man, us here at the show, we are establishing that. So we're doing our part. Real quick, guys, before we sign off and before he plays the last track, I just want to wish this man next to me and my right a happy birthday.
Jesus.
We don't really celebrate holidays and or birthdays, but this man right here deserves to be acknowledged that he has a birthday coming up this weekend. And it's on Monday, but we're not going to have this show until Tuesday, so we missed it, and it'll be a belated birthday. So we want to say happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. And you're an amazing individual, a very powerful man. You truly are a king. It is a heavy crown, but you wear it well. And once again, thank you for all that you do for not only myself, I can say for everyone in your life, and including those kids that you were there teaching today. It was great to watch and for me to see for a little bit of time that I was there. We appreciate you, man. I know you don't care for God, but thank God that you're in my life, and thank God that you're here, Antonio.
Thank you.
You got it, brother. Happy birthday. Scott say happy birthday, Antonio, and the best this year, family. No doubt. No
I
doubt.
appreciate it,
Scott,
man.
you going to be in on next Tuesday for
Yeah, we
because I
got
know
the-
you got something to say about the OnlyFans
Hope
stuff.
It's gonna be a hoedown next week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're gonna
be
have
a
fun.
hoedown.
We're gonna
Come
have
on through.
fun. We're gonna have
You know.
fun, man. I look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday.
Absolutely.
Have a great weekend, and man,
Not everybody.
we still didn't get to like. There's a lot.
There's so much, man, but we got many shows ahead.
Yeah,
So everybody have a good weekend.
no doubt.
You know, Friday, that Harry Potter coming out. We talking about Black History Month. You want to do something, get some representation. Get the Harry Potter game, man. They got the hair and the black aesthetics proper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you know anything about video games, if you're a gamer and maybe you game with your kids or something, they do us bad with hairstyles and clothes,
They
no
could care less about us.
hairline, no
If it
you don't get
ain't-
sideburns.
If it
or
ain't
nothing.
NBA or a football game, it's not
Man.
gonna be right.
Look, Harry Potter, they did their fucking thing. So, if you're interested,
There's a lot. Black people
some good
really
black
represent
representation.
on Harry Potter.
yeah,
In Universal Studios, when I would go and just walk to the area, man, there's a Harry Potter a store.
yeah.
And man, I had a friend come to LA, and he was like, "I gotta go there." He got him a wand. And
Look, it's a whole bunch of different sects of the black community right now on social media. I'll say, not the internet. I'm old, so I keep saying the internet, but social media. It's a game. Yeah, the money is basically going to white people, but it's a habit, or a hobby that's not too costly, and you get to decide how it is that you look. Let the child see some positivity and imagery, at least in a video game, whatever.
Representation.
If that's what you're doing.
Representation.
Fuck that. What is that one that they doing? My nigga. Damn, I didn't forget your name. I know your name. Trayvon. Anyway, everybody have a good night, man. All right.
No doubt.
Be real black. That's all I ask. Be real black, nigga. Get your Black History hair on, all of that shit. When I tell you time's moving like this,
They call me fat. I've been on the grind so long, hoes can never call me that. Please keep it short. I don't speak for all the rap. I am your mechanic. I
know what I'm
don't
saying?
want no parts of whack.
God
Throwing
damn.
darts and wax.
that shit was rough.
It's too much to go. It's too much to talk about.
I just make it special.
You know what I
If
mean?
you came to wrestle.
I just be hoping that we're not getting into where it sounds like we're just dabbling.
I ain't got to prove stats.
No,
I
never.
don't need to hook up.
No, never.
Blue black.
I mean,
straight from where the news
no,
at.
it's pop
Life size
culture, like,
showdown.
really,
Story I
yeah, but
survived.
that right there
Man, I'm live
is
with
pop
most
culture.
damn.
Part of pop
Take me what
culture.
I wrote now.
But,
I imagine it.
They're dealing with KKK members. That's all that is, man.
Ask him why he smashed.
That's all that is.
Absolutely.
I'm
And we
just
talking
proud of
about
myself.
1,000 acres. They don't tell them
when
where
the
the fuck
South
they sit
ain't no
down.
I'm
wax
pretty
in
sure
the
they
middle.
inherited that. I'm pretty sure they inherited it. I don't think they bought it right
Please
out.
stop the BS.
Unless the town was in
For
trouble.
real.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure they
I
inherited
do
it,
this
man.
for real.
You know, they inherited it.
I do
you know?
this for real.
That's all good.
Please stop the BS. For real is on purpose. For real.
Everything I do.
I do this for real. Every single time. I do this for real.